As the verdict reverberated across Wisconsin and beyond, people began asking the deeper question. How does someone like Jesse Kerchevsky get to this point, and how do the red flags slip past until it's too late? To understand the Eyedrop murder, you have to look not only at the crime itself, but at the psychology that underpinned it, the slow burn of desperation, entitlement, and manipulation that built up over years before exploding into homicide. Investigators pieced together a timeline that revealed Jessie wasn't here and simply living paycheck to paycheck. She was perpetually in over her head juggling debts, borrowing money she couldn't pay back and crafting a lifestyle that looked stable from the outside but was rotting underneath. Friends described her as someone who often spun stories, exaggerating her circumstances, playing the role of caretaker, while subtly shifting herself into positions of control. The kind of person who could disarm you with friendliness, even as she was tightening her grip on your trust. Hernan, generous to a fault, had extended her support financially and emotionally, likely believing she was helping a struggling friend. But what she didn't see was how Jessie was weaponizing that generosity, turning it into a dependency that ultimately left Hernan vulnerable. Prosecutors later argued that what made the crime especially chilling was not just the theft or the poisoning, but the fact that Jessie continued her double life so convincingly, projecting herself as devoted caregiver while quietly orchestrating the slow erosion of Hernan's health. The psychological toll of poisoning is unlike other forms of homicide. It requires patience, detachment, and a willingness to watch suffering unfold in real time. Some criminologists call this compartmentalization, the ability to wall off empathy in one part of the brain while pursuing self-interest in another, a trait often found in fraudsters, con artists, and certain types of killers who rely on trust as their greatest weapon. In Jessie's case, the poison wasn't only in the eye drops, it was in the lies, the constant insistence that she was a friend, a caretaker, a protector, when in reality she was an executioner in plain sight. Detectives who worked the case spoke later about the difficulty of proving intent in poison homicides, how often suspects claim ignorance or accident. But they emphasized how everything about this case pointed to calculation. The staged suicide scene was perhaps the clearest tell, the way Jessie had arranged the room to mimic an overdose, with pills and alcohol positioned deliberately, as if she were directing a play. It takes forethought to stage death, to assume how police will interpret a scene, and that forethought became the prosecution's strongest weapon. True crime followers couldn't get enough of this psychological angle, dissecting not just the act, but the personality behind it, speculating on whether Jessie A.'s motive was purely financial or whether she also derived some twisted satisfaction from the control. Some pointed out how her behavior after Hernan's death seemed more performative than grief-stricken, with crocodile tears in police interviews. Others latched onto the bizarre uniqueness of the weapon itself, noting how tetrahydrozoline had appeared in scattered reports over the years as a potential poison, but had rarely been tested in court, making this case a landmark in forensic toxicology. And behind all of it, the community of Cottage Grove was left with a wound that cut deep. Not just the loss of Hernan, but the betrayal that it came from someone she trusted. Neighbors who once waved at Jessie across driveways now shuddered at the thought that they had brushed shoulders with a killer, a woman who smiled and chatted about ordinary things while plotting the extraordinary crime of murder by eye drops. When the sentence of life without parole was handed down, it was both an ending and a beginning, the end of Jessie's freedom, but the beginning of her place in the dark lore of American true crime, a story that would be replayed in podcasts, documentaries, and late-night conversations, as people tried to comprehend how far someone could go when trust is weaponized and greed becomes insatiable. It was a chilling reminder that some of the most terrifying predators don a tee, lurk in alleys or forests, but sit across from you at the kitchen table, blending in so perfectly you never see the danger until it's too late.